Let's try out this new video and see if you guys end up liking it. So a couple of weeks ago, I did a get ready with me while I talked about Book Bonanza because I didn't vlog on that trip, but I just kind of wanted to talk about my experience about it. So I just decided to do my makeup and chat about it. And actually a lot of you ended up really liking that kind of story time, chill format of that video. And we're we want you to do more story times. I don't know what story times to do. So I ended up asking on my Instagram, which I'm going to now use the comment section of this video to gather things for next month as well. But I just wanted to start doing a bit of a coffee chat, chill, get ready with me, kind of check in monthly video with you guys. I just want to try shifting into a little bit more of a casual style of video every now and then where I just get to chat with you guys. You can ask me whatever you want. You guys came through on Instagram. I have so much. I have more that I won't even be able to get to in this video. I'm probably only going to get through a third of the things, but I opened it up movies, TV show, books, non-book things. I just wanted to be able to have more of a casual dialogue with you guys and just chat about some things that I don't get to chat on here about, but that I really love or that you guys are interested in knowing. Oh, I'm really excited to do this and just do my makeup while I get ready. So I had a lot of similar themes, so I'm kind of going to go through the ones that came up the most in this video. And then I still have the rest of the list. So if I didn't get to your question or thing that you wanted me to talk about in this video, I promise I'm going to start doing these monthly. And also too, I think it's that I'm kind of struggling with some book ideas. I'm not reading as much right now. And even though the book content is never going to stop, I just thought that it would be nice to have this video thrown in there once a month for me on my schedule. First up, my laptop's charging over here. So I have to lean. First up, the most common things, the two most commonly asked things that I got in my question box were about TV shows and movies and about my project that I've kind of been teasing y'all with. We're gonna talk about both of those probably to start with here. So I've been teasing, I haven't explicitly said anything because I think it's fun to just kind of tease, to be honest, and just kind of drop little hints here and there. So I have not said anything explicitly about what this project is. I've only said, that I'm not reading as much, or I'm not really reading rock star romances because I'm not trying to get my brain wires crossed and things, and that it's something that I've wanted to do long before I ever reviewed books and had a YouTube channel. And I think a lot of you have guessed what it is. I had a lot of questions of what is it? Am I writing a book? Any hints? What is it? And am I writing a book, I guess, kind of go hand in hand. Can you give us any hints? Like I said, obviously, I think me saying that I haven't been reading any rock star romances is a tease and a little bit of a hint there with that. If you can read into that. I'd say besides that, I think maybe if you take what I like to read, my reading taste, you'd maybe think that I'd be going in a certain direction with it. But I will just say that I don't think I have the capabilities to create some of my favorite stories in terms of taboo level, at least for right now. I don't even know how to I don't know how to say anything without fully saying it. Okay, here's what I'll say. Just hit the 50% point. I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling really motivated. I have a deadline by the end of July that I am really motivated to hit. And then it's kind of one step at a time. I don't know what I'm doing in terms of a lot of the processes. I have ideas in my head for certain looks on the outside of it that I just need to find the right person to execute that. And that again, with me not knowing how long things take, I don't know a realistic timeline, but I am really hoping that this project could be in your hands by the end of October or November. If it's not done by November, I don't want to do anything in December. It's the holidays and people are busy. People are kind of done with reading at that point and in the mood for holiday things. And it will hopefully be in your hands then in January, but I'm really, really pushing to hopefully have it in your hands earlier than that. It's not going to affect me making YouTube videos. It more my content. I feel like you guys have maybe already kind of seen a shift in my content in terms of me trying to focus a little bit more on just books that I like. As of right now, it's not affecting any of my content or my channel at all. I'm obviously still doing videos. And also here, I'll do this little blink and you missed it. Blink and you missed it. And also, if you pay attention on my stories, sometimes I add certain songs to my stories that maybe give you vibes. Also, I had another question of products I use and like showing that throughout. So for my just base, I just use the Pacifica Glow Baby vitamin C and E face lotion. I don't know. I used to use their moisturizer and they like discontinued it, and I'm very sad about it because it was my favorite. But so I picked this up instead, and I think it's fine. I just kind of find it fun to still just not like fully say it. But I will say that it's been better. It's actually been in the works for a long time, and it's been a secret for a long time, but it's actually getting to be a bit better now that I'm teasing things a little bit more, because it's kind of keeping me a little bit more accountable too, which is good. Oh, also, sorry, I'm gonna be bad at showing the products. I use the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer, and it just kind of like keeps me accountable. I have one of my friends checking in on me every single week, checking on progress. I'm feeling really good about it. So let's jump into now TV shows and movies, because I got a ton of questions about that, because I think you guys know that like as much as I love books, I love TV shows and movies. Why have I never taken this sticker off of this? There we go. Also for foundation, I use the L'Oreal Infallible foundation. I don't know what my shade is. It's off of here. I think it's like one of the palest shades. What are my favorite TV shows? What am I currently watching? Black Mirror, thoughts on Grey's Anatomy. What are your go-to TV shows? The best shows you last saw. Which do I prefer? Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon? And thoughts on House of the Dragon, or thoughts on Game of Thrones. So I have a lot. So let's go ahead and just kind of take these one by one. So what are my favorite TV shows? I am a very ride or die person for my shows. I love rewatching shows. So like once I find a favorite, it is like a favorite, and I will just keep rewatching it over and over the years. So I'd say like ride or die show is Everybody Loves Raymond. I've been watching that since I was a kid. I absolutely love that show. It's like my favorite sitcom-y type show. I mean, you've seen I have like a Marie Barone shirt. It's just like I have so many nostalgic childhood memories of it. And truly, if there was ever an Everybody Loves Raymond trivia show, just know I would be walking away with the highest prize of money, because I can literally like name the episodes in order that they are on the seasons. Like, it's kind of insane. The amount of useless knowledge that is in my brain is kind of disgusting, because I have so much up there that will never need to be used, but it just takes up so much space in my head, like knowing episode by episode of Everybody Loves Raymond. But I love Ray Romano, and I love that show. That is definitely one of my favorites. Scandal. Oh my God, I love that show, and I probably revisit it like at least once a year. I normally don't get all the way through because I don't really like the like last season, or even like the last 2 seasons, I think. So normally when I'm rewatching, I rewatch up through like, is it season 4 or 5? And then I've maybe only seen the last season like twice, but I love that show. Daddy Fitz is so hot. I love Olivia Pope. I love Melly. I love Huck. And oh my God, that show is just amazing. It is my favorite Shonda Rhimes show. Even though Bridgerton is out now, and like I love Bridgerton, so let's also talk about Bridgerton. I love that. I cannot wait for season 3. However, I don't think anything will beat season 2 for me. That season truly did something to me. I was like, I don't know which of you I'm more attracted to, but like I am in love with you both. And I was just so obsessed with the two of them together and their chemistry, and it was just everything. I literally just loved that show so much. I obviously haven't read the books. I don't really watch like a lot of like period pieces, but absolutely love Bridgerton. I love Euphoria. I don't love the 2nd season. I honestly think it would have been just a perfect single season. If we would have never gotten a 2nd season, I would have been sad about it, but I think honestly like it could have ended and been perfect. I absolutely love that show. I know it's criticism and Sam Levinson right now. I'm like, he gives me the ick, but I really love that show. Obviously Game of Thrones, you all know I love Game of Thrones, but I'll get more into that because I have more like of those specific questions. Same with House of the Dragon. Absolutely love that. Girls on HBO. Oh, I loved Girls so much. I know Lena Dunham is that show truly, when it was like that, like, oh, I love that show. I love it with my whole heart. I mean, it is what introduced me to Adam Driver, which I just forever have to be grateful for, because I just love him. And recently, honestly, I'm gonna add Poker Face in there from Peacock. I am in love with the show. I'm obsessed with it. I'm already rewatching it, and I just watched it like last month, but I am obsessed with it. So it is by far a new favorite show of mine that I know is just going to be like added into my repeated roster of rewatching shows, and it's like going to be a forever forever favorite of mine. It, again, truly a one season show. It has a second, or like it got greenlit for a second season. It's just not made yet because this first season only came out in January. I love everything about it. And if you've watched it, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to chat. Like, no one in my life has watched this show, and everyone I talk to, I'm like, have you watched Poker Face? Have you watched Poker Face? Because I just want to talk about Poker Face. So for concealer, I use the CoverGirl True Blend concealer. I have two different shades, one that like matches my foundation and then one for under my eyes, but I'm gonna wait to use that one until I do the rest of my cream stuff. And for that, oh, that sounded gross, cream stuff. And for my contour, I use the She Glam. I think this was like this, I saw it on TikTok and it was like $5, but it's cool toned and it works really well for me because I'm pale and like I can't use like an orangey. Okay, so then I had, what am I currently watching? Honestly, I'm not really watching much right now because I finished all of my shows that I was watching. So I guess currently the only show that's like currently airing that I'm watching is Real Housewives of Orange County. I love Bravo. I love Real Housewives. And I've recently caught up on Orange County. So now I can finally watch it live. This is my first season that I'm like caught up to watch live. And I am really liking it. I just am not a fan of Tamra being back. I don't like Tamra. I would have rather had Vicky back if we were going to bring back one of them. Because Vicky is, in my opinion, way more fun to watch on reality television because she's so absolutely delusional. Tamra, I think she's just like a spiteful, miserable person. And she's like a mean girl. And that's just not fun. I don't like watching mean girls. I like watching delusional people. And like, obviously Vicky's mean. But like I said, she's literally delusional. So she's like fun to watch. And like her and Brooke's whole thing from seasons ago, like, oh my gosh, like I don't like her, but I think she's fun to watch at least. She was kind of like Kristen for me on like Vanderpump Rules. Even when I didn't like Kristen, she was still always like entertaining because she just like went there and did unhinged things. And I feel like that's kind of like Vicky. And I just don't like Tamra being back. And I'm very much team Shannon and their whole like issue that they're having. I love Gina. I love Emily. I'm not a big fan of Jen, the new one. And Taylor, I just don't care about. Straight up just don't care. That's the only show that I'm like currently watching right now. Like I said, I'm not really into anything right now because I'm in a bit of a slump after some of the other shows, which I'll get into this then because it was the best shows you last saw, which like I said, I watched Poker Face. And then I was just like on my hyperfixation was back on Natasha Lyonne. I loved her on Orange is the New Black. And I was obsessed with her then. And then I recently finally went back and finished Orange is the New Black earlier this year. And then I had also watched Poker Face. So then I was like, I am just on my Natasha Lyonne bullshit. So I watched Russian Doll on Netflix and that show was truly amazing. Again, another like new favorite show of mine and one that I already want to rewatch. Season 1 was definitely my favorite of the two, but season 2 was like, oh, season 2 like hurt. That was like some deep stuff. And I love shows that have like a lot of meaning and that they're really like symbolic and things. And that was just like this show. So the first season is like Groundhog's Day. She's trying to leave her birthday and every time she leaves her birthday, she dies and gets like reset back. And she's like, what is the universe trying to do? And the whole premise is like for the first season of like learning how not to die. And then the second season is like learning how to live. It's beautiful. And once again, she is just in a league of her own. I absolutely love her. And that's what I watched most recently. And I haven't really found another like non-reality TV show that I've been watching. I had then, what are your go-to TV shows? And here's the thing, even though I have my favorites, like I said, I am a big rewatcher and I a lot of the times watch over and over again like reality TV shows. So when I just want to sit down and I want to like be on my phone or I want to be reading and I don't want to like have to pay attention, I always go on Hulu on my TV and I always turn on old seasons of Survivor. Oh, that should also be like my favorite TV shows. Old seasons of Survivor, old seasons of Vanderpump Rules, or Dance Moms, or Jersey Shore. It's always like reality TV that I watch like that when I want to like turn off my mind and just sit there and kind of have it on in the background. And that was also another question that I got was, do you listen to music while you read or sit in silence? I can't sit in silence. The only time my apartment is silent is when I'm making these videos because I can't stand being alone with my own thoughts. So I always have my TV going or my phone going. So I'm either listening to an audiobook, I'm listening to YouTube videos. I have my TV on. So when I do have it on, then I just like have it sitting in the background in my apartment. It is always like some reality TV show. So it's always, you know, one of those go to. And same when I'm reading, I always have a TV show on in the background, just on really quietly. Like I only have the volume on like 5, so I can just like barely hear it. And it's always one that I've seen a bunch of times, so that way like I'm not tempted to like sit there and watch it, and I don't have to pay attention to it, but I just can have that like a little bit of background noise. Or I turn on like those ambiance YouTube videos, you know, that some people have. I love like the little springs ones, or like especially in the summer I do like the ones by the beach. In the fall I do like the fireplace ones. So I just always have something going because I just don't like being with my thoughts. Okay, then I just got a comment that said Black Mirror. I don't know if this is like a recommendation or like have I watched it? What are my thoughts on it? I will just say I've only seen one Black Mirror episode, and the one that I saw I genuinely really liked. However, I am a big scaredy cat, and I don't like watching anything scary. And I know that some of those episodes are scary, so I have not watched anymore. And literally the only one that I watched was because one of my friends wanted to watch it with me, and she was like there with me so I could watch it with her, and I just, otherwise I'm too scared. I think it seems like a great show. I know so many people love it. I'm just simply too terrified, so I will not be watching it probably ever. Okay, then what did I get? Okay, so now we're pretty much on my thoughts on House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones and Grey's Anatomy. So first up, thoughts on Grey's Anatomy. I really used to love that show. That actually is still my falling asleep show. It's what I turn on at night because, again, I can't ever be alone with my thoughts, so I always listen to TV when I fall asleep. So I always have Netflix going on my phone as I'm falling asleep, and Grey's Anatomy is my sleep show. And I loved that show. It really, like in high school, that was like one of the first shows that I ever binged on Netflix. And I got up, I'm not up to date on any of the seasons. I don't know. I know I tried to watch the one where like then the pandemic started in it, and I was like, I just don't want to watch this. I don't want to be living the pandemic and then also sitting here and watching the pandemic on my screen. Like, just absolutely not. So I stopped watching. And honestly, I just don't like the later seasons. And especially now, I think, is Meredith Grey gone? I just don't care. I don't like what they've did to literally all of my favorite characters. So I don't think I'll ever catch up and like actually be up to date on Grey's Anatomy. But like my favorite couple were Mark and Lexi. I loved them. I loved Jackson and April. I loved Callie and Arizona. I loved Amelia. I didn't really like her with anyone on the show that I saw, like anyone relationship wise, but I loved her. Christina was always a favorite of mine. I always hated George. I hated George O'Malley. I don't get the hype around that character whatsoever. And when he died, like, I don't care. I never liked him. But even though I'm not like watching it anymore, I still can't take away like the impact that some of the episodes have had on me, like the shooting episodes at the hospital, the plane crashes, the episode where like Jackson runs into the burning bus and April's like, Jackson! Like that got me. And even like in later seasons, the one with Joe and like facing her abuser. And then I think is that the same one then too, when they have the woman who came in after being assaulted and like all the doctors on the hallway. Like they have really powerful episodes. It's just some of the other things on the show I'm just simply not invested in anymore. And I don't really care about medical shows anymore either. I think that was very much something that I loved watching when I was younger. Now I don't care about them and I don't like watching them. Just use the Maybelline Fit Me powder and Fair because, again, pale. Okay, now I have bronzer. This is like one of my only like high-end things that I have because I only like use drugstore makeup, and I have the Too Faced chocolate bronzer and I actually really like it. So this will probably always be, but see, I've had this literally since like COVID started and I barely hit pan on it. So it makes it worth it for me. So it was, do you prefer House of the Dragon or Game of Thrones? So I think that's kind of like, obviously I'm gonna say Game of Thrones. There's 7 or 8 seasons of Game of Thrones for me to have watched and loved and watched multiple times. Now granted, House of the Dragon came out at the beginning of the year and I've already watched it twice, but while I love it, I only have a season. I have like 8 episodes of that to go off. Or no, is it 10? I think 10 episodes. I only have 10 episodes to go off of that. Where Game of Thrones, like I said, I have seasons of experience to go off of. So I guess right now I'm gonna say Game of Thrones, but I guess ask me again in what, like however many years when they're done with House of the Dragon, and we'll see. And then just my general thoughts on Game of Thrones. So I have a podcast called Popcorn Chats. We're currently like kind of revamping. I think we're going to switch more into like YouTube style content, but we have done deep dive rewatches of all the seasons. So you can go ahead and listen to any of those episodes and you can hear like my full thoughts. And my co-host Katie loves Game of Thrones as much as I do. And we even did like House of the Dragon coverage when it came out. So if you want to hear like really in-depth thoughts of mine, you can listen to those episodes. But I love Game of Thrones. It's an all-time favorite show for me. And I don't have as many negative opinions, I think, as a lot of people do in the later seasons. For my blush, I'm using this Belle one from ColourPop. It's Enchanted Mirror. I don't know if it's still available. It was like a Disney collection, obviously, that they did. I didn't watch Game of Thrones as it was coming out until the final season was about to premiere. It was like, what, 3 months leading up to season 8 about to come out. And I was like, you know what? I've had FOMO long enough. I was a senior in college and I was like, I don't feel like doing anything. Senior year of college was one of the worst years of my life. So I was like, I just need a show to be able to sit and like just be lost in. So I started, Lost is another favorite show of mine. I loved Lost. J.J. Abrams, again, you're on my shit list though because of the end of this show. J.J. Abrams is on my celebrity fight list. But anyways, back to Game of Thrones. I needed something to be like completely lost in, and it definitely did that for me. I loved this show and I was really excited to be caught up to date because then I felt like this is like a worldwide thing when season 8 was premiering. Like there were Oreos for Game of Thrones. It was like everyone was talking about it. Everything was being built up. So I was like just excited to be able to be a part of that and like watching this show in live time. I think for me, why it didn't make me as angry is because I obviously had only spent like 3 months sitting on the show and I had been so close to like the earlier seasons of these characters that the signs are there of Dany going mad. Whether or not that is in the books, that I have not read the books and I'm not talking about anything in regards to the books, but I feel like at least in the show, they were like little signs here and there. Spoiler alert right here. Do I like that that's how her character went? Absolutely not. But also I don't think that like you can say that it came out of nowhere for her character, but also I truly wish that she didn't die. When it was like about 2 weeks out from the season 8 premiere, as soon as I finished season 7 and like learned about Jon and Dany, I said, I'm like, one of them is dying. Like there's no way that they're both alive at the end. And I wish that it had been the opposite that it was. I liked Jon Snow, but I didn't love him as much as I loved Dany. And I was very, very sad to see her die at the end. And then when Drogon like took her off, oh my God, got me. I think the only characters ending on the show that I was really, really satisfied by was Sansa's. I love Sansa. I'm a Sansa stan, her and Arya. Like, I mean, obviously I named my cat Arya. I loved Brienne and I hated that they reduced her to crying over Jaime. And then her writing in his little book or like the history books about him. I'm like, you better write that he also crowned the first ever woman knight, and she didn't. So I definitely have some strong opinions about different characters. Theon, I love how his character ended. I hated his character, and even on the rewatch, I was still hating him, but then his character really does such a 180 for me. Battle of the Bastards is my all-time favorite Game of Thrones episode. I absolutely love it. I also love The Long Night. I think like season 3 I really love. Is it season 6? I think actually season 6 is my favorite season. I love season 6. Sir Davos, I love Daddy Davos, love him. Sir Jorah, absolutely loved him and his entire journey with Dany. And then actually his death was one of my all-time favorites in the last season. I really, really liked how he died. I loved Missandei and Grey Worm. Justice for Missandei and Grey Worm. I hated Bran. I didn't like any of his storylines. Whenever we were like out in the woods with him, I was like, can we please go to more fun people? I was really not a fan of Bran. Like I said, if there's anything you want to know like more specifically about Game of Thrones, let me know. But I guess those are just kind of like some of my general thoughts. I do really love how the show uses character death, and I know a lot of that comes from George R.R. Martin. But I am such a huge, huge, huge fan of character death and meaningful character death. And I feel like, you know, in that last season, some of that was really, really well done. Like with Jorah and with Theon. And I felt like it really like they both served their purposes and like their deaths were really impactful, where then there were deaths that were also completely wasted. Jaime and Cersei's deaths were like very anticlimactic. The Hound in the Mountain, I loved their final duel. And again, purposeful character death, having to face your biggest fear in order to get your greatest revenge. Like, they do certain things really well, but they also like really did some not so great things. And that's what's really frustrating. And again, I think more things have come out about like the set and like how they treated some of the actors. That's like really disappointing to hear. I was gonna get into movies, but honestly now I feel like I talked about TV shows for so long that like maybe we'll save that for next time and we'll go into some of the other things, because that literally was like probably half of this video that I spent talking about TV shows. So I did get the question, what is a special edition you wish you owned? So I've been pretty lucky to be able to find some of my like ride or die books that I've really wanted. Like I have pretty much all of my Penelope Douglas special editions that I want. I have like the Pam Godwin Mystic box ones. And there was one too that was like, what is your favorite book box or something? So like favorite book subscription is definitely Mystic Box. That's the only one that I have a subscription to and I don't want any more. And I actually really like that some book boxes now are doing more like one-offs where you can just like order them without having to become a subscriber, because it's just so expensive. It's so expensive and I'm like pretty careful with my money. So I don't like having to have all these subscriptions for things. So Mystic Box is the only one that I have one for and I plan to keep it that way. And I also don't plan to cancel Mystic Box. They just like consistently knock it out of the park and they tend to do darker books, which I read the most of. So I really love theirs. But I'd say the one special edition that I don't have that I check like Macari the most often for is Even If It Hurts by Marnie Mann, the Beyond the Pages edition. This, I didn't even know that this like was coming out. And if I did, I would have like, I don't know, done whatever I needed to do to get it. But obviously I didn't know it until I literally saw someone post about having it. And that makes me really sad because this book is like my favorite book that I've read so far this year. It just truly has impacted me like a book hasn't. It truly like opened old wounds that I thought I had healed. It's a story that like I wish I could have told myself, because it's just so much of myself is in this, was in that book, and it truly felt like Marnie Mann like just reached into my soul and pulled from it to write it. That does make me really sad that I have not been able to find it and that people are reselling it for like hundreds of dollars, because again, I'm not gonna spend like $200 on a book, on a paperback too. Like it's not even a hardcover. I just love to collect special editions of like my favorite books. So I would say that is one that right now is definitely the one that I'm like most sad that I don't have and would really like to track down. Oh, and also I'm using the ColourPop, it's taupe, or that's taupe palette. Introvert or extrovert? I used to, if you would have known me in middle school, high school, elementary school, middle school, high school, it would have totally been extrovert. I used to be very extroverted and always wanted like be the center of attention, and like I was always trying to make people laugh. And I think too, like humor is definitely like a big defense mechanism for me. Like if I beat you to the punch, then like it's not as funny when you like say something mean about me. So I think me cracking jokes or like always trying to be funny or be self-deprecating comes off as me being more extroverted now than I actually am, where I would say I'm more of like I'm an extroverted introvert. I have my times and I really like being around people sometimes, but I also really love being by myself. I definitely don't, like on the weekends, if I don't have any plans, I'm not one of those people where it's like, oh, I need to find plans, or like I'm not gonna like be able to do anything. Like if there's a weekend that I don't have plans, I don't care. I'm like, cool, I just get to like chill at home, fine by me. But then when I do have plans, like I really enjoy, you know, spending time with my friends and stuff and having like social things to do. Like right now over the summer, I have a volleyball league that I'm a part of, and I really look forward to those nights every week that I get to go and play volleyball. And like those are really fun, and I like, you know, being out with people and being outside and spending time with them. And I feel like that shift definitely took place more so in college. I think in college I just kind of like reverted into more of an extrovert. I think in high school I was just around my friends 24/7. Like every single weekend we were like getting together, we were doing things, and still like some of those girls are like my absolute best friends in the entire world, and I still like love them more than anything. And I think we just wanted to spend as much time as possible together when we were younger. And then in college, when I was without a lot of them, I had one of them at school with me, but like we tried our freshman year to like not just like completely rely on each other. And I think I just started to kind of realize that, you know, like I don't need to always be around people to be content and to be happy. So I think that's like done me well in adulthood, especially like working from home and over the pandemic. Like I did not really ever feel like super like lonely, I guess. And I think because too, like I just keep up with my friends so much over text, and I have quite a few like long distance friendships. Like some of my friends that I met in Disney, you know, like obviously I don't live by any of them, but I like text them. Or even like now my best friend Katie, she lives in LA, and like I text with her. But I think that's always interesting to ask like other people like what they view you as. So like I don't know, like maybe my friends would say something different, but I definitely say that I'm much more introverted than I used to be. Then I got another one of what did you study in college? So I have my bachelor's degree in communication, and I really loved that. I was not very good at school in high school. I think, you know, maybe my parents were a little concerned about me on how I was gonna do in college, because I just did not do great. And I've never liked school. I've literally never liked it. And I think they were kind of like, is she gonna like do okay when she's off on her own? But I loved, like once I got into all of my communications classes, I like loved those. I finally found something that I was really good at. I liked learning about it. I liked the papers. I liked the presentations that we had to do. I just found the subject interesting, and I really loved it. And I mostly focused on, like my job in school was then doing large scale events. So we had this summer concert, or this like welcome back concert called Panther Fest at the beginning of the year. And so for my sophomore and junior years, I worked on that, and I loved doing that. And I couldn't, obviously freshman year you can't, because like the planning starts the previous year. And then my senior year, I was in Disney doing my internship when the planning started, so I couldn't do that then. But then I worked on our comedy show in the spring. That was like my actual job. So I was just a part of the planning committee for the concert, but then the spring comedy show was mine that I was in charge of. Obviously I had a group of people helping me, but that was like my job primarily. I love doing that as well. My first year I worked on that. We got Trevor Noah from The Daily Show, and that was really fun and cool. And then Nick Offerman, and loved him. He was so sweet. He brought his dad to the show, and his dad was so cute. And like that was great. And then before I left for my internship for Disney, we had booked Leslie Jones from Saturday Night Live. So I didn't get to meet her because obviously I was gone by that point. But I got to get like kind of the plans in place for then the people to come in and do that while I was gone. And it was just great. I love doing that. I will say, like, I don't think I like look back and I'm like, I loved college, but like, I feel like I had some really great experiences. And I don't think, does my degree like necessarily help me now? I don't know. I recently started reading ACOTAR. Have you read them? Love or hate? Yes, I've read them. Absolutely love them. I feel like I don't get to talk about that as much on here because I don't really talk about like fantasy romances at all. And they just don't a lot of time fit into my content, but I absolutely love ACOTAR. And yes, love them. I cannot wait for the next one to be released, whenever that will be. I hope that TV show never gets made because it's never going to live up to the books. So just please, whoever has it, I think is it Hulu, just don't make it, please. Never. I don't want to see that on screen and have it be butchered. But I absolutely love ACOTAR. ACOWAR is my favorite. Wings and Ruin is my favorite book out of all of them. But I also really love Mist and Fury, obviously. Then I got another question of top 3 SJM characters. That is like very hard. So I've read all of her, I haven't read like her Batwoman book or whatever, like Catwoman book, but I've read all of Throne of Glass, all of ACOTAR, and both of the Crescent City books. And I guess top 3, I mean, for sure, my number 1 is Aelin. I absolutely love Aelin so much. If we're talking about her series in general, Throne of Glass is my favorite series of hers. So she has to be my number 1. She's literally one of my favorite heroines of all time. You go through such a journey with her, and like she can just write the shit out of like a main heroine, and especially with like the highs and lows of these women carrying like the weight of the world on their shoulders, especially Aelin. And just like by Kingdom of Ash, like when she just tells Rowan how she's like, I'm tired, and it's like, you should be tired, you have been doing the most for everyone around you and dealing with all these horrible things, and yet you still rise and like do everything for everyone else. Like, I just absolutely love her. She's just the baddest bitch of them all. But I'd say she's up there. But then obviously I love my sweet baby Dorian. I mean, I literally named my cat after Dorian, so I have to put him in there. Once again, I love his journey of him being, I don't want to say spoilers. I don't know. I guess if you've read it, you just know his entire journey and everything that he's had to go through. And I love him and Manon. Like, I want nothing more than a spin-off book of them, but like with the Crescent City age level of reading, if you know what I mean. Like, oh my God, we were so robbed of Dorian's ghost hands with Manon. Are you joking? I mean, I love Reese. I love Feyre. She's not like my favorite, but I do love them both. And I think I love them both together more than anything. I love Lysandra. I really like Bryce a lot from Crescent City. I just feel like, you know, I haven't spent as much time with her as I have with some of the other characters. So, I love Urine. I could go on and on. I just love so many of Sarah J. Maas's characters, but I'd say if I'm talking about like a cast as a whole, like the Throne of Glass characters take it away from me. I just love so many of them so much. I got one. Y'all were trying to be messy with this one because it was also submitted in my anonymous link, and it was any beef with other influencers. No. There's no beef on my end with anybody. Like, I don't care. It's not a competition here. This isn't like a space to be like catty or to be constantly like worried about what other people are doing. I just mind my own business. I make my videos. I don't care to be involved in any like petty things or like internet drama when they're like actual real life issues that deserve the time and attention and emotion behind. And that's not like, this space is not about that for me. So no. I'll end on this question here because I do kind of want to be able to talk a little bit about spoilers with this one. So if you have not read the Off Balance series, then I will see you when I see you in my next video. But I did get someone asking, can we get a chatty video talking about the Off Balance series? I started reading it because of you and I am obsessed. First of all, I'm so glad that you're reading it. I'm so glad that you are also obsessed. And I don't know, I don't think I'd ever make like a dedicated video about it. I've talked about this series so many times on my channel. It is like truly my favorite romance series of all time. And I truly don't think Rhea and Kova will ever be topped for me. So I want to talk about it, but also I want to be able to talk about it with spoilers. So that's why I'm just going to warn right now that if you have not read it and don't want to be spoiled, then just kindly please click away. And this, I promise, this is gonna be the last question on this video, so you're not really missing anything. I don't know what you want to know specifically, but this series hit me. I don't know why it hit me so deeply. I don't have any like personal connections between like the gymnastics element of it, the coach athlete dynamic of it. Like, obviously I played sports growing up, but I like never had a coach that I was like into. But I think one of the things that is the most underrated in the series, and that I think some people who just read the first book don't get the full picture of, is Rhea's journey, not only in herself but in the sport, and truly her perseverance and her determination, and seeing Kova with her step by step. That obviously the romance between them is great. It's super toxic. It's back and forth. It's messy. It's angsty. It's gritty. It's raw. It's real. The emotions feel real behind them. You feel personally betrayed. Like, I felt personally betrayed by Kova on multiple occasions when like Rhea got betrayed by him. Truly, it's just that relationship feels real. So I think that's part of why so many people love it, is because of that reason. But I think deeper than the romance, it's their dynamic as coach athlete. And I think those are literally where some of my favorite scenes lie across the entire series, is them at meets together and watching him give her pep talks before she goes up, and seeing how she relies on him for strength and how he relies on her for strength in moments, and the encouragement between the two of them and the belief between the two of them. Like how Kova goes from being like, you are never going to make it to the Olympics, to him working with her and putting the time in with her, and also Rhea putting in the time and the work to get there, and then watching them achieve her dreams together. I cried in Dismount so many times, especially when she was at the Olympics and seeing her win after everything that she went through, after everything that her and Kova went through, and also like her health issues and how she just never stopped. And sometimes that like relentless pursuit, at times you're like, Rhea, you're literally going to like work yourself into the grave if you don't take a break, and just knowing that she never does. And she's so frustrated. They're both so frustrating characters, but they're so fun to follow. And I think another thing that just makes it so special is following them for 5 books. I can't think of many series that follow one couple exclusively back to back to back, like no breaks, nothing in between, for 5 books is just absolutely insane to me that Lucia was able to make that arc. My favorite book in the series is Twist. It's book 4, followed by Dismount, then probably Execution, and then probably Release, and then Balance. The first one is probably my least favorite just because Rhea's probably my least favorite version of Rhea in that one, because she is obviously like pretty immature in the beginning of the series, but watching her growth, like there's just truly nothing that beats it. And I think that's what I miss in other romance books, is the extra level of connection that Rhea and Kova have as coach athlete. I just don't think regular romances can obviously have that extra dynamic to it. And like, that's nothing against them. It's just that that's not their trope. That's not what they're about. But I think because they both share so much love for the sport and then for each other, and that mutual respect that they have for each other and that drive that they both have, it's just amazing to watch them interact with that. And like, you can see why it makes sense that they love each other and want to be together, even though all of the rules say no, because of that reason, and like because of that mutual love and respect for the sport. That y'all, I could literally talk about this book all day. Lucia Franco just created such freaking magic with it. I have no words. I've messaged her so many times being like, thanks for writing the series, because she went through hella back with the series too, and like with it being banned and people like constantly trying to get it banned, which is like, it's a book, it's fiction. But I just absolutely love it. So I'm so happy to anyone who has picked it up because I've ever talked about it in a video, or because you've seen it online or something. Like, just truly anyone who's ever picked it up and has read and loved it, I'm so glad, because it's truly magical. And like, people, I get questioned a lot being like, hey, do you have anything similar to the Off Balance series, or like similar, or like give me similar vibes? I truly don't. Like, nothing gives me Rhea and Kova energy. No other coach athlete book have I ever read has it been like Rhea and Kova energy. No other regular romance book have I ever read gives me that same energy that those two have. It doesn't exist. It straight up doesn't exist. I mean, I've read it 3 times and I will read it more times because I just can't get enough of it. That is it for today's video. I hope you guys liked it. Even if you didn't, I liked doing it. And honestly, you know, just as much as my content is for you, it's also for me. Like, I still need to find new ways to enjoy making content. So I really like doing the style format, and I hope you guys like doing it as well. So like I said, leave any comments down below of things you want me to talk about in the future. I still have things on my list here, but I will reference to this comment section then when I'm looking at building the list for the next video. Anyways, that is it for today, and I will see you when I see ya.